He found a little girl alone in the barn, then heard her whisper, "Mama's dying outside." The storm had rolled in faster than the weather report promised, one of those heavy, slate-colored Montana tempests that turned the horizon into a trembling bruise. Jake Turner was halfway through closing the shutters on the barn when he heard it, not the rumble of thunder, not the restless shove of wind against the old wood, something softer. A sound too quiet for a storm. A sound that didn't belong. A whimper. Jake froze, one hand still on the shutter latch. For a heartbeat, he wondered if it was a stray animal taking shelter. But then he heard it again, fragile, trembling, unmistakably human. He stepped inside, eyes adjusting to the dimness. And then he saw her. A little girl, no older than 6, crouched behind a stack of hay bales. Her dress was soaked and smeared with mud, her hair matted to her forehead. She looked like she'd been running for miles. The moment their eyes met, she gasped and jerked back, trying to make herself smaller. A raw, instinctive fear flashed across her face. Jake raised his hands slowly. "Hey there," he said gently. "I'm not gonna hurt you." Her voice came out as a whisper so faint he almost missed it. "Mama's dying outside." The words hit him like a slap of cold rain. Jake's heart kicked into overdrive. "Where is she?" The girl lifted a trembling hand and pointed toward the ridge behind the barn. Her small chest rose and fell too fast, as though she'd been holding that fear inside her tiny body for far too long. Jake didn't bother with another question. He grabbed his coat from the hook near the door and sprinted out into the storm. The wind slapped him violently, bending the tall grass nearly flat. Thunder boomed across the valley. But he pushed through, following the direction the girl had pointed. His boots sank into the sodden ground, slipping as he climbed the ridge. He found her halfway down the other side, a woman lying on her side near a fallen tree, her body twisted in a way no body should ever be. Her face was pale beneath streaks of dirt, lips blue from the cold. But she was breathing, barely. Jake knelt beside her. "Ma'am? Can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered. She tried to speak, but only a weak rasp came out. Jake didn't waste time. He scooped her into his arms, she weighed far too little, and carried her back toward the barn. Every gust of wind tried to push him back, every step felt heavier than the last, but something burned within him. That little girl's whisper. That fear. That trust. He couldn't fail them. Inside the barn, the girl bolted toward her mother the moment Jake laid the woman on a stack of blankets. "Mama! Mama, please wake up," her sobs echoed against the rafters. Jake grabbed the emergency kit he always kept by the feed bags. "She needs warmth," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "And we need to get help." The girl wiped her eyes with a shaking hand. "Our car, it slid. Mama told me to run and get help, but I got lost. I didn't know where to go." Jake swallowed hard. "You did good, sweetheart. You found the right place." He wrapped the woman in every blanket he could find, then tossed more firewood into the cast-iron stove until it glowed hot. He checked her pulse, weak, but steadying with warmth. He dialed 911 on his old farmhouse landline. When dispatch said the roads were blocked from fallen trees and it might be 40 minutes, maybe more, Jake felt panic bite at the back of his throat. But he tamped it down. He had 40 minutes to keep this woman alive. He sat beside the mother, checking her breathing, keeping her warm, keeping the girl calm. The storm raged so loudly outside it felt like the world was shaking apart. After several tense minutes, the woman's eyes cracked open. She looked at Jake, confused but aware, then at her daughter, who immediately collapsed into her arms. "Mama," the little girl sobbed. "I found someone. He's helping us." Emotion flickered across the mother's face, fear, relief, gratitude all tangled together. Jake cleared his throat. "You're safe now. Help is on the way." The woman tried to speak, but her voice was barely there. "Thank you. I didn't think we'd make it." Jake shook his head. "You did what you had to. So did she." The girl squeezed her mother tighter. Minutes crawled by. The storm eased slightly. The woman's color slowly returned. But Jake knew she needed real medical care soon. When sirens finally pierced the quiet between thunderclaps, Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. The paramedics rushed in, praised his quick thinking, loaded the woman into the ambulance, and prepared to transport her and her daughter to the hospital. The girl hesitated before climbing inside. She turned back to Jake, her small hands gripping the ambulance door. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my mama." Jake felt something shift deep in his chest, something warm, something he hadn't felt in a long time. "You were brave," he told her. "Braver than most grown-ups I know." She gave him a small, exhausted smile before the paramedic helped her in. The doors closed. The sirens faded. The barn felt strangely quiet afterward, the kind of quiet that makes you re-evaluate a life lived too long in isolation. Jake stepped outside. The storm clouds were breaking apart, letting pale afternoon sunlight spill across the valley. It felt like the world itself was exhaling. And for the first time in years, Jake felt like he belonged to that world again. Sometimes kindness wasn't planned. Sometimes it wasn't easy. Sometimes it just showed up on your doorstep or your barn floor in the form of a terrified little girl whispering for help. But it mattered. Because in answering that whisper, Jake didn't just save a life. He found a reason to keep living his.